Today we're going to talk about something that most archaeologists, technicians, and researchers have seen but may not know what they are. That's government lots, why they exist, and more importantly, why you should care. This beautiful map is the Public Land Survey System, baselines and meridians. It's the OG of CRM location data. Baselines dictate townships north or south. Meridians dictate ranges east or west. Townships are 6 miles wide and 6 miles long, and subdivided into 1 mile. Square sections numbered from the northeast corner, proceeding as the ox plows until you get to section 36. Each section is 640 acres. You can see the progression of the division. But we're here to talk about government lots. And to understand those, you have to have an understanding of the Ordinance of 1785, Ordinance of 1788, Land Act of May 18, 1796, Land Act of June 1st, 1796, the Land Act of March 1st, 1800, Land Act of March 3rd, 1803, the Land Act of February 11th, 1805, the Act of April 24th, 1820, and the Act of April 5th, 1832. Look, we're talking about government lots, and the only thing you absolutely must know is this style of subdivision was written into the laws due to Congress remembering what a pain in the butt meets and bounds descriptions are. Meets and bounds have been around in the USA since the inception of the 13 colonies. Now, meets and bounds sometimes relied on unreliable things. Fence lines can be moved, lake shores can shift, rivers meander. Plotting out the length of a boundary by pacing can differ wildly depending on who is walking that line. Now, the PLSS system was set up. It's not perfect, and of course it has an inherent flaw. It's not possible to perfectly project a one-dimensional map onto a three-dimensional object. The demand for aliquot divisions, that is, dividing without any remainders, presents a problem because there will be remainders either due to cartographic projection or the natural landforms. This plat is typical of the surveys done back when the Bureau of Land Management was the government land office. Township 152 north, range 40 west of the 5th principal meridian. There's something odd going on. Something not neat and tidy for a government that likes simple squares and subdivisions. So let's zoom in. Here in section 26, we can see the 640 acres listed, 160 acres in the southeast and the southwest. But what's happening to the northern half of the section? Those are government lots. Remember that meets and bounds were legally problematic, especially when it came time to adjudicate a dispute. So after the survey, the government held potentially disputed land. So the issue of who owns what when that river inevitably changes course was moot. Further, in the 19th century, the federal government was selling land first by the entire township, then the entire section, the entire quarter sections, and then eventually the quarter sections, because as demand went up, the divisions got smaller. Let's think about what we're talking about, aliquot, and why they helped create government lots. The presence of the river and its inherent unreliability as a boundary made an even division of the land impossible, so the government lots were created to solve the problem. Seen here, numbered 1 through 8, as the ox plows, in section 26. Put simply, if at least 40 acres couldn't be farmed due to an unreliable border, presto, government lot. As you can see, that government lots follow the river. What does this have to do with the 21st century CRM world? Well, if you are ever going to work on Indian-owned or federal land, such as fish and wildlife refuges, national parks, Army Corps of Engineers land, Bureau of Reclamation, or work on a military base, you need to know why a government lot exists and how to describe them in reports and paperwork. Let's say you're going to apply for an ARPA permit on a fish and wildlife refuge. Where are you asking permission to conduct that phase 1? Why don't you take a minute to work it out? Take all the time you need. No rush. I'll be right here. If you need anything, waiting. All done? Great. This description might work for Jane average archaeologist reviewing the permit or report, but not necessarily the agency. Say the Bureau of Land Management would probably kick it back or outright deny the application. Then you'll probably be mocked behind your back. Probably. Now, some agencies, especially surveyors, hate it when you mix terminology. The northeast quarter you see there implies an aliquot that does not exist due to the river. Remember, aliquot means equal division without remainders. That river is not aliquot friendly. This is pretty universal, and everybody's pretty much happy since the description is based on a known static location, in this case the northeast corner, that unlike the river will not change on a whim. When the reality of a survey map is overlaid by an ideal section division, the reasoning for government lots becomes apparent. Now, for a hypothetical, let's assume that the image is from a 2017 plat map. Farmer Bob owns the 80 acres down in the eastern half of the southeast quarter of Section 26. He's going to sell his land to Dewey, Cheatham, and Howell Development. The company hires you to come out and survey. Now, when you interview Farmer Bob, he says that he's found some items near the riverbank, and that he's been farming right up to the river ever since his daddy owned the farm. Here's the problem. That riverbank is in Government Lot 8, and you may need an ARPA permit before you stick a shovel in the ground, otherwise you're trespassing, no matter what Farmer Bob says. Leaving Farmer Bob to consider the error of his ways, let's discuss the issue of an accurate description of a government lot. The issue with this location description is that the outcropping of land in Lot 7 may not be considered to be covered in the permitting, depending on how the language of the job is drafted. Are we interested in Government Lot 2 and 7? If you're not sure of the exact location on a government lot, this description is safer because it covers the entire lot. If you have definitive location information, this description is the way to go. It sets out clear parameters by using a static known point to which to measure the area of potential effect. The southeast corner is not going to change, and by stating a quarter mile west by 330 feet north, it lays out the boundary of your potential grid very nicely. Now, for those in the class last semester, you might remember the phrase, "it depends." Well, frankly, the only correct way to write a location data is that it depends on who you're writing it for. What are their standards? Typically, a point of contact at an agency will help you out on what their expectations are, unless, of course, you irritate them. Then you might as well just move out of state and start an alpaca farm. Not that there's anything wrong with that. In reality, the maps we work with are not always the ideal. The Public Land Survey System 40-acre aliquot is not always possible, so the invention of government lots settled many boundary disputes before they began. When doing research into a particular parcel of land, it's important to remember why and how those boundaries are created, and the purpose they serve today. Thank you for your kind attention. I'm available to answer any questions via email, Slack, direct message of some sort, or if you'd like to text me, by all means, go right ahead. If I can't answer it, as you can see on this slide, I've got a great asset right next to me in a cubicle who can answer some questions and is happy to do so. Once again, thank you for your time. Psst. Hey, did you stick around? Is everybody else gone? Okay, just me and you. I got something for you. Just one more thing. You can use this at parties. You'll love it. Well, our kind of parties. I've said "as the ox plows" a lot in this little seminar. Now, "as the ox plows" is the English version of an ancient Greek word, boustrophodon. What that actually means is literally "as the ox plows." Boustrophodon was the concept behind how the townships are arranged as the ox plows. Right to left, left to right, right to left. That way no two sections ever touch each other with the same number. 6 touches 1, 13 touches 18, never 1 to 1, 6 to 6. It prevents a lot of confusion. And that's one of the little genius parts about the PLSS system. So, Like I said, between you and me, because now you know. And knowing really is half the battle.